Testing.
All day is an this event. Okay.
Oh, by the dawn's proudly we bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallant, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof tonight that our flag was. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Studied history and worker for and while attending Loyola
Good morning, everyone. Heard my name is Anthony Plaid. Production took up everything I was say, but I will find. It's a great thing that I don't even think. I'm glad to see that you guys outlaw that you're going to now lawyers, judges. Law's a very wide field. Fighting part. So many different law goes to them.
briefly worked in a part journal. With the public
Thank you for that introduction. I promise you it makes me sound a bit more impressive than I actually am. So I don't want to take up too much of for coming out this morning, the fact that you're here. Perhaps you're interested in a career in law, or maybe go to your morning class. Either way, we're grateful to have you here because lawyers love an audience. I wanted to kind of touch on three high school years are extremely important up in trajectory for life are the students that are taking here at point of high school is friends out already classes here. Let's create memories. Second thing I kind of college life work and the goal with college graduate study law, practice law, might be interested in crime for that pocket. So when I got to college, I kind of knew I might want to be a lawyer and wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to practice, how to get there. About college is that you don't know the idea of learning much major whatever you want.
Good morning. Talk to you. I want to reference to you very well for if you like to go into first thing is it doesn't matter what it matters is that whatever career you choose to go into, you're going to might as well train how to take in what you apply to whatever novel, try to read that. That's going to set you up quickly for when you go to college. Whatever you have to do. Second thing, write and write verbal, write what happened, write history class, write a page. There are a lot of books at a lot of bookstores that will have. Then you may want to take that to the next level. About a specific, write an essay. I believe, or here's why. That's what you crossword. What do they say? 5, 10, or you have an opportunity to go to read class. Part of the debate. Most importantly, trial team. Right.
To the position of Judge Dawkins was also which are the baseball. Serves on the board of Judge Dawkins is a widow, no son.
Morning Raptors. 9:51. I think you can Raptors. All right, that's better. I'm a proud graduate of this high school. At the time, it was called Rich South, but I'm a proud graduate of this high school, and I brought my friend. Our colors were red, white, and blue. What are your colors today? Because I Googled it. Red, black, and red, black, and white. Our colors, because I'm an alum. I wore gray because I wanted to give you some. I I have been smiling here. I was because I want to share with you that I didn't know then. Where I wanted to be. I knew because I had been taught my father, your guidance counselor. forth and achieve all of your hopes and dreams going forward.
John A. Fairman is an associate judge who was assigned to the 5th District Municipal Courthouse in Court County, Illinois. He co-presides over emergency mental health examination and detention hearings. Additionally, Judge Fairman hears a variety of civil and criminal matters on a rotating basis with the other municipal departments judges in the Bridgeview Courthouse. Judge Fairman has spent years in public service in Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, D.C., with both the state and federal government. As an attorney in private practice with both a small and mid-sized firm, he handled both civil and criminal cases and built a reputation for always seeking fairness and justice in the courthouse. A former Cook County Assistant State's Attorney, Judge Fairman served in multiple divisions including child support enforcement, 1st and 5th municipal divisions, community prosecution, felony review, and was an out-of-state recruiter for the CCAO. During his tenure on Capitol Hill, he worked with the Judiciary Committee and was the lead congressional staff member for the Enron debacle of 2002 for the 18th Congressional District of Texas, where he helped draft legislation to change the United States accounting law.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. I was going to write down something to say to you all, but I figured I would just come and speak from my heart. It was somebody that I met, young man who had straight C's in high school. Highest GPA was 2.7, that was for one semester. Lowest, 1.9. Didn't know his mom that well. She had mental health issues. Spent his time with her in projects, being shot at, around drug dealers, prostitutes, played basketball just for lunch money. That was the only way he was able to eat. That young man is me. So if you think you can't succeed, if you can't do well, doesn't matter where you are, whether or not it's A's, B's, C's, I'm telling you, you can. I went on to graduate from Howard University. I was number 2 in my class in finance. I went on to consult with the FBI. I have worked over on Capitol Hill with the Judiciary Committee. All through that, after graduating from law school, I went on to become the youngest president in the history of the oldest minority association of lawyers and judges in the country, even to this day. Also the youngest president of the National Black or the youngest executive board member of the National Black Prosecutors Association from its 50 years in existence till today. We're here because you matter. You matter to us. We want you to be us. We don't want you to just do what we're doing. We want you to climb on our shoulders and be better than us. If you are graduating through here, you're looking at being a lawyer, the reason, I never wanted to be a lawyer. Never thought about being a judge, never wanted to be a lawyer. I went because I studied finance, and it was for financial, or to be and go into finance, and I can learn the legal side on it. I took and went to law school. I had to pay extra $1,000, and that was just to take the bar exam. Never wanted to do it, but I will say it is the best profession that I've ever been in. This job that we have right here is the best job that I've ever had. We get a chance to help out hundreds of people to benefit the community on a daily basis. I speak to about 1 to 2 schools a week. And the area that I'm in, the schools that I speak to, that usually come over to the courthouse and speak to me about 1 or 2 schools a week, nobody in there looks like me, looks like you. You matter to me, you matter to us. Anybody in here who doesn't know how to become a lawyer, would like to become a lawyer, would like to intern, if you come over to the courthouse, come over to my courthouse, you're welcome to come in. I will have you observe for a week. You come in for a day. I will take care of your lunch. I'll even help your transportation if you need help. And that's because I want you not to be me, not to be these people here, but to do better than us. That was the message I was sitting there coming in, and that was to give you today, and that is that you matter. Doesn't matter where you are, I know some of you are, where are the A students here? All right, I see a couple hands. Keep your hands raised. The B students? All right, so for everybody not raising your hand, I was with you in high school. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even quite sure they should have let me graduate. I made the school a lot of money. I played basketball. They let me graduate. I had scholarships for basketball. I went on and played. But in high school, probably even through the first year of college, I sat over in the back, probably one of the ones that were back over to sleep. That was me. So don't let anybody tell you can't achieve, that you can't succeed because of where you are or what you're doing. And I will say, it is good to read. It is great to read. It is one of the things I do on a regular basis. To be honest with you, I hate reading. I hate writing. But I do it. I have learned to enjoy it for a persuasive argument and so forth, but when I was at your age, I did not. Even when I got to college, I did it because it was necessary to learn and master what I was doing. When I got to private practice, I was able to build after leaving the state's attorney's office up to about the age of 30 and then on after. I had 22 attorneys, 30 staff members. We grossed anywhere between 10 to 30 million a year. So who here likes making money? Who here likes helping people? You can do both through this. Now I'll tell you, if you enjoy what you're doing, the money will come. But this is a profession that if you do well, we're in this because all of us here like helping people. You do get rewarded financially speaking in certain divisions or certain areas that you're in. However, you can do well. You can do well in any area you're in if you enjoy what you're doing. The money will come. But this area in particular, we're here because you get to help people. I have a large amount of folks who, I think about 100, 200 people a day that are coming in front of me. And I take great pride in to do the right thing and to help folks. Let me give you the story of somebody I had in front of me yesterday. I had somebody who was charged with resisting arrest. They weren't arrested for anything. The charge they had was resisting arrest. That is a conviction only, mandatory 100 hours of community service. That's something you can't get removed from your background, something that's permanent. It was a young kid, age 17, sitting in high school. What that means is that for jobs or college or so forth, this is on your background. This will hold you back. Being in the position that I'm in and learning that this kid had no background, no history, I was able to, because of who I am in my position, this kid ended up pleading guilty to an ordinance violation, still getting a conviction and 100 hours community service, but no different than a speeding ticket. So there's a sanction for it. But I'm also in a position where I can help. That's where we want you to be. So if any of you all want to intern, if any of you all want to just come and see what it's like, I am here. I'll be here afterwards. I will give you my cell phone number, my office number. You can call me, you can text me, and I will bring you over there and help you. Like I said, not be me, but be better than me.
Testing.
Honorable Alan P. Walker is an associate judge in the Circuit Court of Cook County. He was elected an associate judge in 2012. He currently sits in the General Chancery Division. His prior assignments include the motion section of the Law Division and the mortgage foreclosure / mechanics lien section of Chancery Division. Judge Walker has taught numerous judicial education courses at the Biennial Illinois Judicial Education Conference. He is also a member of the Illinois Judicial College Committee on the Judicial Education. Judge Walker currently serves as the co-chair of 2024 Illinois Judicial Education Conference and the vice chair of Supreme Court Committee on Illinois Evidence. Judge Walker is the assistant secretary for Illinois Judicial Council, a member of the Illinois Judges Association and the Cook County Bar Association, and a member of the Chicago Bar Association's Board of Managers. Before the bench, he was partnered at a Green and Letts focused on representing and advising individuals for profit and nonprofit corporations and municipal entities in litigation and transactional matters. He also served as an adjunct professor at John Marshall Law School. Judge Walker graduated from DePaul University College of Law in 1987. Following the speaker, you will hear from Aaliyah.
Good morning. So, how many of you actually are interested in law? Raise your hand. How many of you know someone who is a lawyer? How many of you know someone who is a judge? How many of you have somebody in your family who is a lawyer? How many of you have somebody in your family who is a judge? So the vast majority of you don't know anybody who is a lawyer, don't know anybody who's a judge, don't have anybody in their family who is a judge, and don't have anybody in their family who is a lawyer. I was the vast majority of you. I didn't have anybody in my family who was a lawyer. I didn't have anybody in my family who was a judge. How did I wind up being one? I used to like Perry Mason. It was a TV show back in the day. The question is, why are we here? Judge Fairman said it when he said, we are here for you. We are here so that you can see people who look like you, who have the same background that you do, who come from the same place that you do the things that we do. And to tell you that if we can do them, so can you. And as Judge Fairman said, not only can you do them, but you can do them better than we do. We are here so you know that there are opportunities for you that you might not have otherwise considered. We're here so that you know that you too can stand on the shoulders of your ancestors and be the hope and the dream of the slave. We're here so you can be, like someone said, Jesse Jackson, you should say, I am somebody. We're here for you. When I was little, the only thing I ever wanted to be was a lawyer. Actually, before that, I wanted to be a cowboy. But when I found out my father couldn't get the zoning variance for the ranch in the backyard, I had to do something else, and that was be a lawyer. So since 7 years old, I wanted to be a lawyer. That made me very focused. And so when I went through high school and grammar school, I knew what I wanted to be, so that kept me out of a lot of other stuff. It kept me from doing stupid stuff because I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And if I got in trouble, there was a very good chance that I couldn't accomplish my goal, or at the very least, it would make it much, much harder. I finally got to be a lawyer when, after I had taken the bar exam and gone to law school, I got that. Back then it was an envelope. You folks don't know. They send you your bar results in an envelope, and you can tell whether or not you passed or failed by how thick the envelope was. What they don't tell you is how thick it has to be. So when I got the envelope, I wasn't sure, so I had to open it. And it said, congratulations, you had passed. And that was one of the greatest moments in my life because I got to be the only thing I had ever wanted to be in my entire life. And ever since that moment, I have enjoyed every single solitary moment of it. I have fun every day. Throughout my entire career, I have had fun. And then in 2012, I got to serve as a judge. I was appointed as a judge. And I remember that, and even now, the first assignment they give you is in traffic court. And I remember sitting in traffic court. And in traffic court, you see a lot of people come through who look like us, and all kinds of people, actually. And I was sitting there, and there was a break. And I realized at that point, I said to myself, gee, this is so much fun. I enjoy this so much. They say if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. I have never worked a day in my life. not in my adult life, because I enjoy what I do. And that's me, and I would imagine most of the people sitting enjoy what they do. And so can you. For those of you who are interested in the law, the Illinois Judicial Council has an externship program. It allows you to come and work with a judge in chambers during the summer. You can work as many or as little hours as you want. The judge will take you around to his comrades, his colleagues. You'll get to see cases. You'll get to see jury trials. If you go to Judge Fairman's court, he'll even buy you lunch. You'll get to see the inner workings of a courtroom. You'll get to see how judges decide their cases and why they make the decisions they make and how they make them. You will get to interact with other lawyers on the judge's staffs. Hopefully you'll get to see other lawyers and interact with them who are arguing cases. Those are opportunities that I didn't have when I was your age. No one came to my high school and said, hey, Alan, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a judge, you can come sit in my courtroom and watch what happens. No one provided or made the offer that Judge Fair made to all of you, that if you ever want to come and see his courthouse and what he does, you can come and do that. Those are opportunities that we did not get. There's a scripture that says, we walk by faith, not by sight. That was me. I walked by faith. No one said, Alan, you can do whatever you want to do except for my father. No one said, Alan, yeah, you can be a lawyer except for my father. I didn't have lawyers in my family. Didn't have judges in my family. So when I decided to become a lawyer, I was walking purely by faith, not by sight. Now, you folks get to walk by sight. You can see us, touch us, talk to us. You know that it's possible. Not only is it possible for us, but it's equally possible for you, if not more. Because you will be standing on all of our shoulders, and we will be there for you. And one day you will take over for us. Justice P. Scott Neville often says that he is looking for the next Supreme Court justice. You won't be the next, but you can get in line. People up here who are going to be next. But you can get in line, and you can prepare. All of the things that the lawyers have told you and all of the things that the judges are going to tell you are in preparation so that you can be the next. Get in line. Don't mess up the careers that you have. Do the things you're supposed to do. Study what you're supposed to study. Take all the advice that you've been given to heart and apply it. And we will be there to help you.
Judge John Like is in the criminal division at 26 in California. After our speaker, you'll be hearing from Cassidy Gilbert.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm here on a different take. I'm at 26 in California. We call it the big house. Anybody know what 26 in California is? That's where all the major crime is tried at. I'm here today so you don't have to see me at 26 in California, because if you see me at 26 in California, you don't want to see me. Anybody ever heard of R. Kelly? He saw me at 26 in California. Anybody ever heard of Jussie Smollett? He saw me at 26 in California. And I know y'all heard of this person, G. Herbo. I had never heard of him. I came to work one day, and all of the young clerks and everything was around the courtroom. I'm like, what the heck is going on? They say, G. Herbo is here. I'm like, who the heck is G. Herbo? He's some famous rapper from Chicago. I said, oh, okay. And I got lit up on social media because I put him on house arrest. He couldn't go to his baby shower or whatever. So the bottom line is this: I had to do my job. So luckily you seeing me here Because if you see me at 26 in California, it's not going to go well. It's a little too late. That's why I come to speak at schools. I'm a mentor for 100 black men. I go to schools, high schools, colleges, grammar schools, daycare. I don't care what type of care, because I want to talk to you real. I'm going to keep it 100 with you, because when you come to my courtroom, that's how it's done. It's kept 100. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear I want to get back home to my kids, because all of the young men and ladies say that when they come in front of me. I just want to get back home to my sons and my daughters. But where were you when you got arrested? Where were they then? You weren't thinking about them then. So you want me to think about it now. So I'm here to let you know you can, like all these lawyers and judges are telling you, you can be anything you want to be. Just don't come see me, because it's a little too late. But what I do want you to come see me at is this. I got a question. How many people in the audience think the criminal justice system is unfair to black folk? Raise your hand. Practically all the hands are raised. But you know what? You can do something about it. You know what you do? Everybody say, vote, 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 vote. Yeah, that's true. But what's more, or equally as important as voting, is showing up for jury duty. Jury service matters. Because if you or your loved one is charged with a crime, and all the people who look like you and I try everything in their power to get out of jury service, it's very hard for that person to get a fair trial. So if you do your part and show up and sit your butt on that jury and listen to the evidence, and if you don't feel the prosecutor has done their job by proving that person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you have the power to say no. That person will not be convicted. But if the prosecutor has done their job, you have the power to say guilty and bring justice to that victim. So you are the persons to make the criminal justice system fair. So don't go sit up here talking about, oh, it's so unfair, and you sit on your butt and you don't do nothing about it. Hopefully I'm making myself absolutely clear. It's okay to say, yes, Judge. Thank you. No, I just wanted to let you guys know the serious part of what we do. There was a case, right? Man minding his own business, recently had a child, went to Starbucks, got a coffee, called his wife. He was taking her to the hospital because they had just recently had a child. These knuckleheads saw him, thought he had some money. They grabbed him, threw him in the trunk, kidnapped him, called his family, asked for $50,000. The family came up with the money. They said, you can find your loved one in the alley back here. Before they got there, the fire department was there. The fire department was putting out a garbage can that had a body in it. The person had been strangled, doused with gasoline, and set afire. The knuckleheads got the $50,000, and they also got something else. They got Judge Like. The jury convicted that knucklehead, and I launched him. I gave him 60 years in prison. Another case, young lady broke up with her boyfriend. He didn't want her to leave. He ends up kicking in her door, stabbing her over 26 times, and almost cut her head off. The jury convicted him. And before I sentenced him, he had a few words for me. He said, "You're stupid. You're lame. You're crazy." I said, "Mr. Defendant, I'll take all that." He said, "Yeah, you don't got nothing. You can't do nothing but take it." I said, "Yeah, but you about to take these years." And I gave him 70 years. He gonna die in prison. So I said all that to say, you can be anything you want to be. I'm not going to go into my background and all of that. Bottom line is, you know I'm smart. I got to tell you the college degrees and all that. Not to say anything's wrong with it, but in order to get where we are, you have to go through that. You have to go through those steps. You can be anything you want to be and do it. You got to put in the work. But again, thank you for allowing us to come here and speak to you guys. Don't come to 26th Street unless you're on jury duty because you don't want to see me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Justice Cynthia Y. Cobbs was appointed by the Supreme Court of Illinois as a Justice of Illinois Appellate Court in January 2015. Prior to her appointment to the Appellate Court, Justice Cobbs was appointed as a Circuit Court Judge in September 2011 and won election to the seat in 2014. Early in her legal career, Justice Cobbs served as a senior judicial law clerk to Supreme Court, formerly Chief Justice Charles E. Freeman, the first African-American judge to serve on the state Supreme Court. Justice Cobbs thus became the first African-American to serve as a senior judicial law clerk on the state's highest court. Justice Cobbs currently serves as a member on the Board of Trustees of the Supreme Court Judicial College, the governing body which oversees educational training and professional development for all state court judges and justice partners in Illinois, and the Board of Directors for South Suburban PADS, a not-for-profit organization which delivers shelter, housing, and rehabilitative services to South Suburban Court County's homeless population. Justice Cobbs received her BA degree from Morgan State University, Baltimore, Maryland, and she holds a master's degree in clinical social work from the University of Maryland. A graduate of IIT Chicago Kent College of Law, Justice Cobbs was admitted to the Illinois and federal bars in 1988.
Thank you very much, and good morning. You know, there must be something special about pacing back and forth. I watch my colleagues and my legal peers pace back and forth, and the more this one paced, the more impassioned his commentary became. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pace, if I'm just going to stand over here, because I don't get to call balls and strikes or put people in jail for 60 and 70 years and all of that kind of stuff. It's all very interesting to know about and all very interesting to hear, but it's also equally interesting not to have it happen to you. I know that as far as I'm concerned, I never want to be in that man's courtroom, ever, ever, ever. But in any case, thank you so much for having all of us here this morning. We were here in this very space with some students last year talking to you about our careers and how it is we came to be lawyers and how it is we came to be judges in the hopes that we might prick something in your spirits that would make you think about not just a legal career, but any career. You're at this wonderful stage in your life where so many doors and opportunities are available to be opened to you and for you. And so we stand really as one, unified in the notion that you see us and you see what we have become and where we had to start from and where we are today. And that is really just a message, a visual message to you that you can be anything you want to be. You don't have to wear a pretty little black dress. You can wear a little white lab coat. You can wear what teachers wear. You can wear what anyone wears. The point of the matter is that you're at a very critical stage in planning for your future. Yes, this is my second career. I didn't even imagine, like most of my colleagues, that I would be a lawyer. In point of fact, I had no interest in being a lawyer. And even further, like Judge Walker, like Judge Dawkins, like Judge Fairman, and Judge Like, there were none of those folks in my family. My folks were teachers and social workers and secretaries. And so I started out as a social worker. But having been a social worker, that's what made me think I could be and should be a lawyer. The judge thing came far later than that, because certainly I wasn't thinking that even though I could be a lawyer, I would someday be a judge. But here I am. I am a judge, and I'm proud to be one. Now, am I happy to go to work every day, like Judge Walker, who's never worked a day in his life? I don't know about all that. I think judging can be fun, but it's also very hard. It's a very serious undertaking. And yes, if you enjoy what you do, and at the end of the day, it is about helping people and helping society, that's a wonderful contribution to make. And to that extent, yes, I enjoy every moment of it. But the decisions that we have to make, and the spirit and the temperament that we have to bring to the bench, no matter what we're hearing. If we're hearing about god-awful murder cases like Judge Like and Judge Fairman, or if we're hearing about people losing their homes and their property like Judge Walker, those are difficult things to hear. At the end of every legal story is somebody's personal story. And we have to be mindful of that. We just can't rule out of what we think is the right thing or the wrong thing to do. We have to follow the law. And then we have to realize that the decisions that we make every day are going to impact the people who stand in front of us. Now, when I was sitting there, someone suggested to me that maybe we should talk about the three branches of government or the three levels of court system. But I want to pose that question to those of you in the room. But first, I want to ask this question, because this is dialogue that's happening in the judicial branch of government every day. Do they teach civics or something like civics here? Who said yes? Who said yes? And what did you learn? What do you learn in civics? Do you mind sharing? You don't take the class, but your friend does. Is your friend here? No. Does anybody have any idea what's taught in civics? It's like politics and stuff, right? Yep, kind of like politics and stuff, right? But you also have the opportunity to learn how your government works. And knowing how government works, and knowing particularly how each branch of government works, is important to you as you begin to plan for your careers. So we, in the black dresses, serve in what is called the third branch of government. We are the judicial branch. We are the branch of government that construes what the second branch of government, the legislators, make and decide as law. Then the president, and in our case, the governor here, is the executive branch, and they get to sign off on all legislation. So we are the third branch of government. We are the decision makers. We are the adjudicators. We are the ones who decide rights and wrongs. We are the ones who decide what the law says, whether the law is a good law or it's a bad law. So what you heard from Judge Dawkins, from Judge Walker, from Judge Fairman, and from Judge Like are what happens in what we call the trial court. That's the court where the judges actually call the balls and the strikes. They have all the interesting work to do. They get to see the witnesses. They get to hear people put their cases before them. They get to see evidence. They get to see dead bodies. They get to see everything. And they get to make the decision about what's right, who made a mistake, and who didn't make a mistake. They get to decide who's going to jail and who's not going to jail. That's what they get to do. I sit in a different kind of court. Mine isn't as exciting. I get to think a lot. So while they're calling the balls and strikes, in football, I get to do like what's that thing they do when they have to replay it and you have to see? Replay? Review? Is that what it is? Right. So I get to review the balls and the strikes. I'm in the appellate court. But the point of all of this is, as you've heard from all of us, even the attorneys and the judges, is you can be whatever it is you see. So if you don't see what you want to be on stage, then try and see something else. But for goodness sakes, make a decision that's going to be one that's going to benefit you and your society. You can't just go through life stumbling around, bumbling around, not knowing where you're going. You have an opportunity to make an impact. You have an opportunity to be someone. Is that a hand? Yes. How many years of school to be a judge or to be a lawyer? So you heard everybody up here pretty much talk about their educational training. To be a lawyer, I had to have high school and good grades in high school. Good grades in high school. And then from high school, 4 years of college. And then from college, you can do something else, which is what I did. But if you go from college to law school, 3 years full-time, and then sometimes 4, and I think sometimes 5, depending on whether you're a day or an evening student. Are you planning to be a lawyer? You want a minor-in-law? Well, at least you're thinking about it, and I think as long as you're thinking about it, like Judge Walker, who started thinking about it when he was like 7. I think when I was 7, I was just trying to think about where I could get an ice cream cone. But Judge Walker's smarter than I am, and he knew early on what he wanted to be. But again, you're at a critical stage in your life. You can be whatever it is you want to be. There is nothing that is out of your reach. You are your own barrier. So if you're hanging with folks that aren't going anyplace, you need to take a different direction. If you're talking to people that are talking trash, you need to talk to somebody else. Don't let anybody define who or what you can be. Be your best self every day. And on those days when you can't be your best self, step back and think about what happened that day and why you weren't your best self. And then purpose in your heart to do better the next day. Never give up your dream. It's your dream. People will tell you you can't. People will tell you you shouldn't. People will tell you it hasn't been done. People will tell you it shouldn't be done. Go deep inside. Talk to people who will give you good direction, who will give you good structure. You know, it's important. We all talked about who we didn't have in our lives when we were growing up. And so we didn't really think about whether we could be judges or lawyers. When we talk to people now, or youngsters now, we tell them, find a network. Find people who are talking the same talk that you want to talk. Be in rooms, be in spaces. Some people in this room know lawyers. Some people in this room know judges. Some people have lawyers and judges in their family. It's so important to network, to be amongst people who are talking the same game plan you're talking about. Yeah, when I was your age, I was interested in the football games. I was interested in being a pom-pom girl because as an African-American high school student when I was coming up, black kids couldn't be cheerleaders. We could only be pom-pom girls, which is something foreign to you and hopefully no longer exists because it really was just kind of like a way to keep black kids out of being cheerleaders. But in any case, you can go, you can be, and you can do anything that you want to do. So I don't have any more words of wisdom. I think you heard it all from my colleagues and from my legal peers. But in any case, I wish you all the best. We'll be right back here next year, a group of us, talking to another group of students in the hopes that we can inspire another group of students to go far, to go fast, and to go well. Thank you for your attention.
So at this time, we're going to honor the attorneys and justices and judges with a certificate of appreciation. So first one is Attorney Anthony Platt. Attorney Jessica Lewis. Attorney Steve Tyson. Judge Barbara Dawkins. Judge John Fairman. Judge John Like. And Justice Cynthia Cobbs. They're coming. Now, before I open it up for a question and answers, questions from you guys,
I want to introduce your debate team and your mock trial team and give them their certificates of appreciation from this season. Anissa Kelly, Judge Dawkins. Judge Dawkins, Cassidy Gilbert, Cameron Butler, Aaliyah Lindsay, Alana Colvin couldn't be here today, but she was on the mock trial and debate team. Darcy Thomas is taking an AP test, and she did a wonderful job this year for the mock trial team. Rakaya Rashad was on the mock trial team. And your very own Munchie Lindsay was one of the best mock trial attorneys for the state of Illinois. And Aaliyah Lindsay is going to accept her award. They're sisters. And I would like to present the mock trial team with their certificate of merit for their great job they did at the mock trial competition this year. Mock trial team, come on out. Also, we had two wonderful attorney coaches. Attorney Ashley Varnado couldn't be here today. She had court duties to take care of, and we have a certificate of appreciation and thank you for her. But Steve Tyson was, he put in a lot of time. They both did and hard work for your mock trial team and work weekly with the students. Mock trial team, come on out. Steve Tyson. Thank you.
Join mock trial.
Yes, it is a wonderful experience. Now we're going to open the floor up for questions. Any questions that you may have for the judges or justices?
My question was, like, when did the debate team start? Because if this is my first year here, I don't know if I'm gonna be going next year, so I wanted to know, like, when did we have like flyers and stuff up for the debate?
So the flyer's been up since September. We began in September. I believe we had our first competition in October, November, but we usually stay once a week after school at the least. And then the week of competition, we'll go like 4 days to prep and stuff. But it starts in September, runs all the way through March, and can run through the summer, depending on what levels that you get in with the competition on how far you compete. We would love to have you, so see me or Ms. McCray so we can get your information, so then we can keep in contact. But September, so as soon as you come back to school, we're ready to get rolling. Well, if you're here, we would love to have you, okay? Any other questions? Any questions for the? We can't hear your question. They have the mic right there.
For Fairman. Did I say it right? Okay. From last year, from when I had first met you, do you think you accomplished anything new for this year? Or anything different?
Wait, what's the question now?
Did you accomplish anything different or new from last year, from when I met you last year?
I'm gonna have you stand up and speak louder.
From last year, did you accomplish anything new or different?
New or different from last year?
Because I had met you last year.
From last year to now, I was appointed to preside over all mental health cases at the Bridgeview Courthouse. And so that's probably the only one change. I will point out that I had 3 interns. Where's Mary Harvey? So one of my interns who will be going to college and law school I have in here. Ms. Gilbert, where's Ms. Gilbert, who would be my second one. But the only change would be I now preside over all mental health examination and detention hearings for emergency situations at anything that happens in the southwest suburbs, Oaklawn, Orland Park, Tinley Park, or so forth. That's probably the only major change. Did I answer it for you?
So I was recommended by Miss Taylor to join mock trial and debate because I want to major in forensics. So, like, what's the best way, like, mock trial and debate could help with my major in forensics? Like, how do they correlate? The whole law portion of it.
That's a great question. I don't know if you know Darcy. She's also interested in forensics. Particularly, she wants to be a forensic psychologist. So we have a division at our office. I work for the law office of the Cook County Public Defender, and we do forensic issues. So if you are interested in forensics, feel free to contact me. Ms. Taylor has my contact information. I'll give you all that, and you can just call us, and I can give you some insights as to how you want to pursue that. And also, I would highly encourage you to talk to Darcy about her interests as well.
Can I just add to his answer? Forensics, I'm sorry, debate is all about public speaking. It's about communication. And as judges, we are connoisseurs of communication, whether it's written or spoken. Precise communication is really important in being persuasive. Communicating effectively is one of the best skills you can have. And the debate team will help you develop those skills. And none of us here would be successful if we have not mastered the ability to communicate effectively.
we all went to law school, and they have this thing called the Socratic method. So if you don't ask us, we'll start calling on you. In the red, go ahead.
Have any of y'all, as lawyers, been held in contempt?
I've been close. There was a judge at Markham, very fond of him. His name is Judge Baker. He was also a colonel in the military. I believe he was a Marine. So if you know anything about the Marines, they are no nonsense. He had made a pretrial ruling about a particular matter, and I didn't violate it per se, but I skirted around it. I put my toes right up to the line, and maybe one of them went over. And so the state's attorney, we had a sidebar. A sidebar is when you speak outside the presence of the jury, and the state's attorney stated to Judge Baker that she believed that I was violating the spirit of the ruling, and Judge Baker agreed. And he said, counsel, if you continue in that line, I'm going to have to hold you in contempt. And so when Judge Baker said that, I knew he meant it, and so I stopped what I was doing.
I can tell you about the time I held somebody in contempt. And in fact, it was kind of weird. I was off work, and I was at night walking to my car. This car pulled up and it stopped. And it had tinted windows. We all have concealed carry in Illinois, so I reached for my thing. And the window went down. And the guy says, "You Judge Like?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Yes, you are." He's like, "No, it's all good." And his friend was with him, said, No, it's all good, it's all good. He said, "You don't remember me?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "It was when you was the judge on 111th Street, you locked me up for contempt." I'm like, "Okay." He says, No, it's all good." He says, "Man, you changed my life." He said, "You kept me locked up for a week, and I got a chance to think, because I did do something real stupid in your courtroom." What happened, he came in the courtroom, and his girl was with another guy. And he started fighting the guy in my courtroom. So, I locked him up. I said, "Dude, this is court. This ain't the block. This ain't the playground. Lock him up." So I brought him back a week later, let him out. And he came, he says, "Judge, you don't understand. When you spoke to me, when you brought me back after a week, you told me I can do anything I wanted to in life. I can change my life." He says, "Judge, I bought a truck. I own my own trucking company now. I got contracts." He says, "I bought this car." It was a real nice car, too. It had the rims and everything on it. I'm like, "Oh, this is a nice car." It was a Charger. Nice car, souped up and everything. He says, "But I just want to thank you so much. Had you not locked me up for that week, I don't know what I would have been doing." But I said, "You still with old girl?" He's like, No, we good." Thanks.
I got a quick question. Have y'all ever wrongfully convicted somebody for a crime that they didn't commit? Have y'all ever wrongfully convicted somebody for a crime they didn't commit?
In law, after you've gone to trial and you've been convicted, if you believe you've been wrongfully convicted, you believe the trial judge made an error. Either they misconstrued the evidence, misapplied the law, prevented some evidence from coming in that would have cleared them or would have exonerated them, and you lose, and Judge Light gives you 60 or 70 years in jail, you have the right in Illinois to appeal. Remember I told you about the 3 levels of court. So these are the trial judges. He heard the evidence, he heard all the witnesses, he saw everything and heard everything that informed his decision. And judges sit, and they sit impartially. They have no bias. They can't take sides. They hear all the evidence, and they make a decision based on the evidence. But if, in fact, you believe that you were wrongly convicted, in Illinois, you have the right to appeal that conviction to the Illinois Appellate Court. And if you can present your case to the appellate court that would indicate that you were innocent, we have the power to reverse that conviction or to send the case back and have John Like retry it, what we call remand. So all is not lost, because even after you lose your appeal, these cases still never go away. There's also something in law called post-conviction relief or habeas corpus relief. And so you can just keep trying to present evidence to support your position of innocence for as long as you have a viable claim. Doesn't mean you'll win, but you certainly have opportunities to present viable evidence to support the claim or your conclusion that you were wrongly convicted.
So I sit in the civil court, so he's not going to happen. However, when I was a lawyer, I worked on one of the Burge cases, John Burge, notorious police commander who did a lot of bad things. And during his time, there was a young African-American man who was arrested for rape, convicted based on the eyewitness testimony of the victim. Went to jail for 20 years. He continued to pursue his claim of innocence, got out after 20 years, and continued to claim that he was innocent. And Innocence Project, which is an organization that works for people who are wrongly convicted, proved to the court that he was wrongfully convicted. And as a result, record was up. But then he sued the city of Chicago, police officers who lied. Why was he wrongfully convicted? Well, for two things. One, back in the day, there was no DNA. No one knew how to use DNA. So if you were accused of a crime and they looked for evidence, in this case, the evidence was blood evidence. And blood evidence in serology is not as exact as DNA evidence. It was DNA evidence that exonerated him 20 years later. The other part, though, was there was a victim who said, yes, that's the guy who raped me. And her identification was wrong. We know it was wrong because the DNA said otherwise. And for all intents and purposes these days, DNA is pretty close to infallible as you can get. So I say that to make Judge Like's point subtly, perhaps a little less subtly. You have to be very careful about where you are, what you do, who you're with. Because the law is not infallible and it makes mistakes. And if you find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time, possibility that a mistake can be made. It may take you 20 years.
Just open this up for Judge Like and for Judge Farron because Judge Walker just made an important point, and it is about a concept in law that we call accountability. Judge Like, Judge Farron.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's when I speak at schools, particularly high schools and grammar schools, I always talk about accountability because most of young folk don't get it. They don't understand. For an example, say you and your boy are hanging out, and he says, you know what, let's go hit a lick. But you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do, for those of you who don't know, that means a robbery. All right, so they're going to do a robbery. He said, you don't have to do anything. Only thing you have to do is stand outside the liquor store or the convenience store, the gas station, and yell 5-0 when you see the police. I'm going to do everything else. I got the pistol. Don't have to worry about anything else. Just yell 5-0 if you see the police. And I'm going to give you half of the money. Sound like a great deal, right? You ain't doing nothing. You ain't even a part of the crime, right? Who says, that sounds like a good deal to me. I don't have to go in there. I don't have the pistol. I ain't doing nothing. Just yelling 5-0. And 5-0 don't come, I get paid, and everything's all good. Who say, oh, that's good? Luckily, you're smart enough to know that if he gets caught, say, for example, the agreement was to do the robbery. They go into robbery, but a fight breaks out between your boy and the store owner, and your boy shoots and kills the store owner, and you both run away, but you both get caught. Your agreement was to do the robbery, so you, the one who was standing outside to yell 5-0, you just going to get charged with the robbery, right? Or do you get charged with the murder also? Who said you get charged with murder also? You guys are smart. You're right. It's called accountability. You are accountable for everything your little partner did. Even though the agreement was just to rob the place, you didn't agree to kill nobody or shoot nobody, the law doesn't care. And you know what? Typically, the law is smart in that you can get hammered more so than the guy who actually pulled the trigger. The reason why the law does that is because if it wasn't for you, the getaway driver or the person yelling 5-0, the dude who went in the store with the pistol may not have had the courage enough to do it alone. So we're going to punish you just as badly as we're going to punish the person who pulled the trigger. So don't fall for that trap like, oh, you're not going to get charged, you're not going to get convicted. In fact, throughout my career as a lawyer as well as a judge now, I've seen a person who actually pulled the trigger be found not guilty, and the person who was standing outside found guilty. It's called evidence. The evidence of the person who was in the store might have been weaker. Let me give you an example how that can happen. Say the guy who goes, I'm not trying to tell you how to commit a crime or nothing. I'm just going to try to answer the question and be real. Say the person who went inside the store had a mask on, and the person standing outside didn't, and they got surveillance video. They catch the person standing outside, his face is clear as day. They see him running out with old boy. They see him walk up with the guy. But the person that had the mask on, there was a bad identification. So is that guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? No, so they find him not guilty. But the person whose face they clearly saw, they found him guilty. So it can happen. And one last thing about this so-called snitching stuff. Don't listen to that nonsense. Don't listen to that. You tell. You don't got to snitch, tell. There's a difference between snitching and telling. Snitching means I agreed to do this with you. You got caught, but I didn't. But I got caught and you didn't, so I'm going to tell on you. That's snitching. Telling is, listen here, fool, you did something crazy? You think I'm going to take this gun for you? Oh, absolutely not. I'm telling the truth. That's his. Don't go to jail for nobody. That stuff, don't listen to that social media stuff. People snitch all the time and tell on people. Young lady. With what? All right, what about the consequences if you don't? You go to prison for 30 years. So what you want to do? You want to snitch or quote-unquote snitch? Or you take the rap and you do the 30 years? I don't care. I give it to anybody. You want the 30? I'll give it to you. Yes. I want you guys to come into my courtroom and watch. Some of these so-called guys who don't snitch and hard, they snitching all day long. All day long. It's easy to be a keyboard gangster when you're on social media and you typing and you're on your phone talking about how tough you are. But I'm telling you, when I was a prosecutor, when I used to send people to prison, instead of convict them to send them to prison, you'd be surprised how many of those so-called tough guys, when you get to the second floor of the Chicago Police Department, the detective division, they sing like Luther Vandross and Drake. They be singing like them, telling on everything. They be singing like Drake up in them, snitching. So don't listen to that nonsense. What about that case down in Atlanta? I can't really comment on it, but what's going on down there? That young boy or whatever his name is. Huh? Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. Let me give it to Fairman.
I have a question. What's the relation between accessory to situation or a murder and accountability?
Well, in Illinois, we call it accountability. Other jurisdictions may call it accessory, but basically it's the same thing. How do you get charged with accountability or being accessory? There's three ways. You got to help plan it, help commit it, or help afterwards. Help the person get away. You the getaway driver. You hiding a pistol. You doing all of that stuff. Don't get caught up with that. I'm telling you, don't get caught up with it.
I have a question.
Well, I want Judge Like to address. Judge Like, don't sit down. Because I think this is important for you to address also. You know, if you didn't do something and the cops say stop and you run, address flight.
This is big. Particularly when I was in bond court, this is how you handle it. Let me tell you what happened to me when I got stopped by the police when I was a lawyer. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I was out here in Homewood. I fell asleep at the light real late at night, around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I had been drinking. I had drank too much. I'm keeping it 100. I fell asleep at the light. And all of a sudden, I heard this bam, 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 bam. And it woke me up, and I did the U-turn on 183rd and Halsted, went through the White Castle parking lot, and was heading back west to go over, at that time, my girlfriend's house. All of a sudden, the lights hit me. The police. I'm like, wow. So I pull over, put my hands on the wheel. He walked up to the car with his hand on his gun. And he says, sir, you know why I stopped you, right? I says, I don't have the foggiest idea why you stopped me. He says, yeah, you saw me. You tried to get away. You cut through the White Castle parking lot trying to get away from me. I said, sir, I didn't see you. He says, yeah, right. He says, you have a license and insurance? I said, yes. I kept my hands on the steering wheel. I'm not moving until he gives me permission. He says, give me your license and insurance. I said, my license is in my wallet. I'm sitting on it. And my insurance is in my glove box. Can I get them? He said, yeah, go ahead. So I hand them to him. He runs them. He comes back. He hands them to me. And he holds them. He wouldn't release it right away. He says, sir, have you been drinking? I says, officer, with all due respect, I'm not answering that question. He looked down into my car and he says, sir, what do you do for a living? I says, I'm a lawyer. He said, oh, okay. I say that for this reason. I'm a lawyer at that time, and I'm a judge. Even today, if a police officer stops me, and I know the law better than probably 99.9% of the people on the planet, if the police officer stops me, this is how I'm going to handle it. Sir, get out the car. I'm not going to say, what? What you mean get out the car? What you mean I ain't getting out the car? I know my rights. The minute you tell an officer you know your rights, he know damn well you don't. Let me say it again. The minute you tell him you know your rights, he know you don't. If you know your rights, you're going to comply, and you're going to live. So what? He might have stopped you for wrong. You may have followed all the rules of the road, didn't do anything. But that is not the time to start throwing questions and getting sassy or getting smart. I ain't getting out. Yeah, you getting out one way or the other. You getting out. Trust me, you getting out. You going to do it the easy way or you going to do it the hard way? But I'm saying all this to say this. This is how you do and this is how you live. Because we want you to live. We don't want to see you on television and marches and all that other stuff about a traffic stop gone wrong for another young black person. The police officer stops you. He's going to ask you some questions. Try to answer them. He asks you for your ID or your driver's license, give it to him. He asks you for your insurance, give it to him. If he asks you to step out of the car, even though you haven't done anything wrong, step out. Step out. Something you might not know is the law. The Supreme Court, the appellate court, the United States Supreme Court, the Illinois Supreme Court, and all the other appellate courts says, if a police officer asks you to step out, whether or not you believe you did anything wrong or not, you must comply. This is what I tell my own sons. I got 3 of them. Says your job is to live and to get home. I'll deal with them in the courtroom. You're not going to win on the street, but I'm going to kick some butt in that courtroom. So just comply. Thank you.
I have a question.
Why he's giving me this mic? Because every time he does, I send him back up there. Stop.
I have a question to everybody on stage. What would you say is your highlight of your career in law? It doesn't matter whoever asks this, just in general. Professionally or personally.
I'll give you 2. First highlight was at my law school graduation. I think my parents were more excited than I was. So giving them the opportunity to live through me, certainly a highlight. I'll give you my second one, and it kind of plays into what we've been talking about a little bit. Last jury trial that I tried, predicated on accountability. I was absolutely certain. As lawyers, we never use those terms. I was absolutely certain murder. But here I was trying a case where he's accused of murder, and he's accused under an accountability. Imagine that kind of pressure. I'm convinced he's not guilty. And here I am standing in front of 12 fake. And if we had lost, he would have gone to jail probably for about 60, 70 years. So here I am standing defending this young man, absolutely convinced he's not guilty of murder. Now, was he involved in some other stuff? Maybe. But he was not guilty of murder. And my trial advocacy coach, it wasn't glad, but he'd probably give the same advice. He said, trials are about transference of belief. I believed it. I knew he wasn't guilty of murder. I had to do everything confines of the law, rules of evidence, to transfer my belief. Thank God they found him not guilty. Because that would have just much stress on me. I did everything I could have. I came up short. That's probably my highlight.
Got a question. Judge Light, do you feel like today's laws are very unjust and like a lot of I say a lot of things that go in the courtroom are unfair as far as on the black race side, like a lot of decisions are treated like as a judge. Do you feel like in some cases when our kind like our race when we go into the courtroom that we are easily at a disadvantage, like it's unfair?
Oh, that's a deep question. Well, not in my courtroom. Everyone is treated fairly in my courtroom. But I know what you're saying, and particularly in my experience as a lawyer, I tried cases all over the state for the most part, and when we went into different counties, typically myself and my client were the only black persons in that courtroom. And the juries that we would have would be all white for the most part as well. And so my client sometimes, and even I, felt that that's unfair. But that's the hand we were dealt, so we had to play it. We won some, we lost some. But for the most part, you, as a citizen of this country, have to do your part to make certain that it is fair. When you have people in office who you don't believe are treating people fairly, including judges alike, you get a chance to vote them out of office. And as I said earlier, you get a chance to sit on juries too. Because if you don't believe the evidence that the prosecutor is putting forward against whoever, black, green, yellow, purple, you get to say, no, I'm not voting guilty, and that person will not be found guilty. It takes all 12 jurors to say guilty or not guilty. So you can do your part as well, but hopefully I answered your question. In some cases, yes, I felt as a lawyer things weren't above board, but as a judge in my courtroom, I make certain that everything is above board.
I have a question for the lawyers. I know with all the client attorney privilege and stuff, have you ever like had someone say that they were not guilty, and then they talk to you and tell you in confidence that they did do that?
Yes. All the time. So yeah, there is that attorney-client privilege. Our conversations are privileged so long as they don't go telling somebody else what we talked about, and we have that same obligation not to, those things our clients have told us. That being said, we cannot lie to the court. So if and when we get to the point where we're at trial, the state still has the burden, right? The state, you never have to prove yourself innocent of a crime. The state has to prove you guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So there are ways in which you can still support the defense and, defend your client without outrightly lying to the court, because you can't do that. Sometimes it works.
Just a quick follow-up. Yeah, this happens. I don't ever ask my clients, are they guilty? I do ask them what happened so I can have a story to tell, because that's how you win trials, having a story. They lie to me, I don't know. There are those who will tell you they did it. Kind of crazy, but my job as a defense attorney, don't really care. My job is to protect their rights, and they have a right to a trial, and the state has to prove it. Now, I have an example of a situation like this. It was an intent murder trial, and my client was alleged to have shot his neighbor 5 times, once in the face. The miracle of modern medicine, he's alive, so he was able to identify who shot him. We had one story, and we prepared to go to trial. The day the jury was up, my client tells me another story, which caused us to change our defense. It wasn't hard. Of course, I couldn't divulge what was told to me because of that privilege, but by my actions, I'm pretty sure both the state and the judge figured out what was told to me as I asked for a date to prepare for it. So I did inform my client when he was telling me this, he wanted to tell me the truth. No, once you tell me the truth, make sure that I'm not presenting false court. So once you tell me this truth, we have prepared for this trial one way. But when I know something different, I can no longer go forward with the way we prepare for trial, and I had to ask for a date to.
I have a question. So, this for the judges. Have you ever felt like you just gave somebody an excessive amount of years? Like, I ain't have to get that man 40 years.
No, sometimes I felt like I didn't give them enough time. No, I don't. I don't, because quite often when you hear those numbers, 70, 60, 50 years, we lose sight of the person, the victim. He gave that person life. That person died. And that person will never be able to hug their kids, go to prom, none of that. We always lose sight of that, so absolutely not. I sleep like a baby.
I got a question.
Wait.
Has being a lawyer or a judge ever became personal for you? And if so, is it hard, like, to keep stuff professional? Because as an empath, like, I don't know, I want a minor or major. I don't know if I want a minor or a major, but I know, like, it'll be some cases where I feel bad for the victim.
I was before I became a judge, I was a prosecutor for years, and there are still victims who I think about now. I was actually just telling one of our colleagues I had a case where a young woman was sexually assaulted, and it resulted in the birth of a child, and she raised that child. And I prosecuted that case almost 20 years ago, and I still think about her. I prosecuted a case of a young woman, and this was before we had vocabulary we do now, but a young woman whose father assaulted her because she was presenting male, and paid a prostitute in narcotics to orally copulate her while he watched on. I think about that young woman. I think about the victims of gun violence. So those cases, yes, they do. Some of those cases live with me, but it's because of that that I have empathy for not just the victims, but the young. I know that I was the prosecutor and got big sentences. I sit in bond court, and when I'm sitting bonds, I think about these are real life people. We don't make those decisions for myself. Does have an effect on.
I have a question for Judge Fairman.
Now, forgive me because you know you speak a little louder for me.
Okay, I was saying that you were saying that your grades wasn't that good, and
Right.
like you were mostly sitting in the back. So, you wanted to be a judge, or like where did that come in?
No, I didn't know I wanted to be a judge. Never wanted to be an attorney. Never thought about being an attorney. But in regards to being a judge, after practicing for so many years, uh, and honestly, I thought that the more money I made, the more people I could help. I do a large amount of community service. I still do. So that's the reason why I loved, at the time when I was a lawyer, being a lawyer. Uh, I underestimated the impact we could have as a judge, not only on you, but on the community. And so, with that said, if I knew then what I know now, I would have sought to do this a long time ago. The impact that we're able to have on people's lives in the courtroom and outside the courtroom is, I could not express to you how much it is. So, for that, as Judge Walker said, this is something that if I had $1 billion sitting in an account, I would do this for free. I absolutely enjoy my job. A bad day is a good day, and a good day.
I have a question.
Okay, we'll do one last question.
Okay. I know that certain crimes have a certain amount of years that you put a person in jail for, but at the end of the trials and everything, after everything is concluded, how do you actually determine how many years a person?
Well, at the sentencing, you hear from both sides. You hear from the prosecutor who will give you aggravation. They'll tell you about the harm it has done, whatever the crime is, to this particular family or this particular victim, and that this person may pose a danger to society if he or she gets out sooner rather than later. And on the other side, the defense attorney will tell you what's called mitigation, all the good stuff about the person. The person dropped out of school, was raised in an abusive household, had this disadvantage, suffers from drugs or alcohol addiction and what have you. And there is an opportunity to be rehabilitated. So therefore, don't give this person a lot of time in jail or prison. And then you get to hear from the defendant himself. Before you sentence any defendant in
United States, they're able to speak to the judge before a sentence is imposed, and they can tell the judge they're sorry, they won't do it again, or hey, I enjoyed this, and do whatever you're going to do, which people have told me too. So based on all of that, and then the probation office, you get what's called a pre-sentence investigation, where they try to learn everything they can about the defendant, from the moment that person was born until what led them to my courtroom to be sentenced. They give me a report about all that person's history and how they was raised and their educational background, their work history, and all of that. And you weigh all of that in the parameters in which we have. The legislature, which Justice Cobb was talking about, the three branches of government, executive branch are the prosecutors, which Barb Dawkins, as well as I and John. That's the executive branch. Legislative branch is the ones that pass the laws. They tell us how much, what the sentencing range. For murder, it's 20 is a regular murder, but if you do it with a gun, you can get what's called an enhancement, where you get an additional 25 years on top of the 20 to life. So if you shoot and kill somebody with a gun in Illinois, you get a minimum sentence of 45 years all the way up to life. So you have to sentence a person within the range in which the law.
Thank you. Would Justice Cynthia Cobbs and Judge John Like come get your certificates, please? Okay, so we will have a luncheon after this for the justices and selected students. And Chef Crawford, we would like to thank you for putting together the luncheon. So if you could come up, Chef Crawford, we have something for you. Also, while Chef is coming up, Judge Walker did mention the externship program. So if you would like parts of the externship program, you can see me, and I have the flyers and the information that's needed for you to um, be partake in the externship program. Let's give Chef Crawford another round of applause. And join mock trial and debate. We're going to have Cameron Butler finish up with a thank you.
We extend our gratitude to everyone who is commemorating and recognizing the contributions our judges, lawyers, and all those who work in the legal profession. We sincerely thank the judges for imparting their expertise to us today. Additionally, we would like to congratulate District 227, the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Johnny Thomas, Mr. Fields, Mrs. Vardo, and all the staff members for their invaluable support, guidance, and motivation for Law Day program. Additionally, we would like to thank Chef Crawford and the post-start students for providing the food today. And finally, we would like to thank Ms. Taylor for all the work and energy she put into making our successful mock trial team